Good morning, my name is Matthew Hugo from Weather Commerce, and this is this morning's weather brief on Wednesday the 12th of October. Today's weather brief will cover a summary on the West European 5-day average temperatures, the UK, Europe, Scandinavian precipitation, and finally global weather alerts. We will start by taking a summarised look at the mean surface temperatures across Europe. And despite some model divergence, overall there is consistency for previous days to suggest that most areas of Europe between days 11 and 15 will have temperatures either near or trending slightly above climate norms. Between days 6 and 10 a cooling trend is evident compared with yesterday, and most areas of Europe are forecast to have temperatures very near to climate norms, though perhaps just trending slightly above, but only by 1 or 2 degrees at very most. And finally, between days 2 and 5, the distinct split in temperatures is forecast to continue, with many central and particularly eastern areas of Europe experiencing quite significantly below average temperatures, yet in contrast western regions are likely to have temperatures either near or trending slightly above climate norms. And now taking a look at the United Kingdom in some closer detail. And there is some interesting changes compared with yesterday, and starting with the 11 to 15 day time period, you can see that there is some significant model divergence evident within the latest forecast models. This divergence is evident given that some of the more recent GFS ensembles take temperatures to at least 4 or 5 degrees above climate averages, yet in contrast some of the GFS deterministic models have temperatures either near or slightly below climate norms. My temperature prediction, as represented by the solid red line, is signalling temperatures to be around 1 or perhaps 2 degrees above climate averages, and that is the current temperature forecast that I expect towards the final week of October. Between days 6 and 10 there is some model agreement and consistency. As a result, confidence levels are higher with regards to the expected temperature trends during the course of next week, and the majority of the available forecast models signal temperatures to be either near or just slightly above climate averages, but only by 1 or 2 degrees at very most. It should be noticed though that some of the recent EC deterministic runs and also a couple of the recent GFS deterministic runs do actually signal temperatures dropping to slightly below climate norms towards the 18th and 19th. This remains a possibility given the potential development of a rather cold northwesterly air mass across the UK. However, at the present time this risk is minimal. And finally, between days 2 and 5, confidence levels are high given good model agreement and consistency for previous days, for temperatures to initially start around 3 degrees above average, but soon dropping and becoming around 1 or 2 degrees above a climate mean of 11 degrees Celsius towards the weekend of the 15th and 16th of October. And now taking a look at the expected European temperatures in some closer detail. And what is evident is some distinct model outliers, particularly for example across France and Switzerland, with the recent GFS deterministic model signalling temperatures quite significantly below average. Ignoring these model outliers, overall the remainder of the forecast models signal temperatures to be either near or just trending slightly above average across most areas of Europe, but only by 1 or 2 degrees at very most. The latest Benelux model comparison graph helps to summarise the 11 to 15 day period, and as with the UK, despite some significant model divergence with regards to the exact temperature trends within the longer term, the 11 to 15 day time period is forecast to have temperatures generally ranging between 1 and 2 degrees above climate means across the majority of Europe. Between days 6 and 10, overall, with the exception of a few model outliers, particularly from the EC deterministic across Switzerland and Austria, overall the majority of the available forecast models maintain temperatures to be very near to climate averages or perhaps just trending slightly above, but only by 1 or 2 degrees at very most. The latest Switzerland model comparison graph helps to illustrate the 6 to 10 day period, and as you can see, with the exception of a couple of quite significantly colder GFS deterministic outliers, the majority of the available forecast models, and also my specific temperature forecast as represented by the solid red line, has temperatures very near to climate averages between days 6 and 10, though perhaps just trending slightly above, but only by 1 degree at very most. And finally, taking a look at between days 2 and 5, and the significant east and west split in temperatures is forecast to continue, and as you can see, many central and eastern areas of Europe, including Benelux, Germany, Austria and even down to Italy, are forecast to have temperatures quite significantly below climate averages by perhaps as much as 4 or 5 degrees. Yet in contrast, far western areas of Europe, including France, the United Kingdom, Iberia, is likely to have temperatures either near or trending slightly above climate norms by perhaps 2 or 3 degrees. The following weather chart for Friday the 14th of October helps to illustrate this temperature trend, and as you can see, an area of high pressure dominating across central and some northern regions of Europe is producing a mild south or southwesterly air mass across the United Kingdom, France and Iberia, and it is here temperatures are forecast to be above average, but in contrast a much cooler, if not rather cold, north or northwesterly air mass develops on the eastern side of the high pressure across eastern areas of Europe, and hence the reason why temperatures across eastern Europe are forecast to be generally below climate norms. And now moving on to take a look at the expected Scandinavian precipitation forecast. And overall, over the next 7 to 14 days, with perhaps the exception of some southern and western areas of Norway, where precipitation totals are forecast to be generally near or slightly above average, most areas of Scandinavia are forecast to have a particularly dry spell of weather, particularly over the next 7 to 10 days, where parts of Sweden may well experience less than 25% of normal totals. Now taking a look at global weather alerts which highlight significant deviations from normal. And there continues to be a trend today for many northern regions of China in particular to have temperatures generally well above climate averages, particularly over the next 7 to 10 days. Surface temperatures may be at least 6 to 8 degrees above climate norms for the early to middle part of October. And finally, there's an interesting signal continuing today as well from many central and particularly western areas of the United States, perhaps with the exception of the Pacific Northwest, that over the next 7 to 14 days, precipitation totals are forecast to be well below climate averages. Many western areas of the United States may well experience little or no measurable rainfall for the next 2 weeks, with precipitation totals comfortably less than 25% of normal totals. Thank you for listening to today's weather brief. Goodbye.